I want to go more specific on a project. For you to see, it doesn't matter the size of the building, it's the structure. So there was a small project that it needed to be restored. And you know that in other videos we had spoke about how people in this tourist area, they just want to get money out of this property. So it's hard for them to actually shut down the property to do a restoration project. That being said, they just let it go too long. By the time they get to the restoration, they can't take it anymore. They're either having too much leak, or they're losing money, or it's just too deteriorated. This is a store on South Beach. We came in to do a concrete restoration. Obviously, it had never had a restoration before, no maintenance whatsoever. So when we started the demo of the project, we noticed how the ceiling was completely exposed. The rebar was completely exposed. The columns, every column, every beam on that section of the property, it was just deteriorating. So you can see how the process has been. This is the store. You see at this time how every column and beam is removed. Only see you see standing there is the blocks. You can see how all the rebars look. All the rebar are completely corroded. Once we go into the back of the store, thinking that we're going to find something, because obviously there have to be something good for you to be standing. That's what we think, but it's not that way. Sometimes the concrete is just holding on by itself. We end up demolishing practically every structure of this piece of the property. You can see on the wood form. What we did here in this case was we put the wood form on the bottom, on the existing ceiling of the property. We tied it up pretty quick, and then from the top, you can see the guys from the top downloading all the slab and removing all the rebar. Then you can also see in this other picture how it's all formed up. Then we go into the rebar. We had to put 2 beds of rebar. That was an overkill, because when the building inspector came and said, "Oh my God, what, are you going to build another building on top of it?" But the engineer on this project, he wanted to be overprotected, where you can see there's more rebar than actually the first one. And then the same thing, we had to do the wall. We formed the wall. We put all the rebar necessary for it to stand. And what I want you to focus on this presentation that I'm doing for you guys is that once you get corrosion on the rebar, it's just going to continue, because especially in a small property like this, the tight beam, they all connect. The columns, they all connect. The slab, they all connect. So all the rebars, they all connect. So once you get the oxidation on one, it's just a matter of time. I mean, this was a long time. They were just sitting on it, trying to do some work on it. And the main problem was they had a terrace on the top. The roof of the store was a terrace, so people will hang out there and they will sit and they will drink, and it was just getting worse by the minute. So what happened? The guy with the store, he will come one day and put some temporary roofing over it or some painting over it, and that doesn't help whatsoever. All that does is to make it worse, because now you're entrapping the moisture. I'm going to continue passing pictures here so you can see how the form was up. And then the bottom of the slab, you can see when the form was removed, you can see how the tight beam in the slab was just done completely new. The wall was also formed and put every dowel on it. We actually, if you see on the picture where they put in the rebar, you can see the rebars on the wall already coming up, tied up to the slab. So we did a vertical rebar tied up to the slab. So when we pour, those rebar was standing up, and then we just did the vertical rebar on it for the wall job. And you can see already the finish where we remove all the woodwork from the wall. Then you see the preparation for the waterproofing. Actually did a brand new waterproofing on it. We went up 8 inches on the edge to do the flashing. Then we completed putting all the existing railing back, the aluminum railing on the rest of the property. And you can see the finished product. Now, we just came in this property to do a restoration, but once we started chipping, there was no stopping, because every inch of rebar on that property had corrosion on it. So we had to demolish everything. And if you see in the picture, there's a picture here that you can see the attachment from the rest of the building, where you see the guys chipping, and the back of the building, that slab that's when we had to attach. We dialed in 2 feet into that slab. We epoxied it. Then we came out of there. But the good thing about that is that we had separate columns holding up the store. The store was only attached by the slab in the back, but then the rest was actually freestanding. This is for you to see a visual side of the rebars. This project was done about 10 years ago. So this was getting corroded, I would say, before we got there, maybe 10, 12 years before. That's how long it takes to actually get to this condition, and probably even longer than that, because remember, this place is right across the street from the ocean. So you get wind with salt water on it, and you know what that does to steel, especially when you have opening or when you have exposed rebar, is critical. Sometimes you think you're just going to restore a couple of columns, a couple of beams, and that's not the case, because there's no engineer out there that actually gonna let you slide with it. You know, if it's corroded, it's gotta go. And if it lost, in this case, we had to remove all of them because they all had lost more than 25%. At some time, this rebar, if they didn't lose more than 25%, you can actually clean it and treat it. You either sandblast it or you wheel wire, where you get all the oxidation out of it. Then you put a anti-corrosion coating on the rebar, and then you can go ahead and pour. But if you have corroded rebar, they can only stay if it could be clean and it hasn't lost more than 25%.